SMU makes the move to the ACC, and there are a lot of people that think it's going to work out for them. They're going to compete, and then there are other people that think that they're not ready to play with the big boys, and they're not going to do very well in a power conference. We're going to go into all the game-by-game predictions here, but first, just my thoughts on this SMU team. I actually think they're going to fit in very well with in the ACC. In fact, I think they have a chance to win the conference. I'm not saying they will, but I think they're up there among those top contenders. I don't think there's any elite teams in the ACC, and SMU is going to be very solid. You know, if they were playing in the SEC or in the Big Ten, yeah, I don't know if they'd survive those conferences, at least this season. But as far as the ACC goes, yeah, I think SMU is going to be just fine. So we look at the roster, and the thing about SMU is everyone thinks, oh, they're coming from the group of five, but they don't realize that this team is loaded with transfers that were Power 5 players, that were 4-star recruits, those type of guys. And there really are no big weaknesses for SMU. I love the running back room. It's going to be one of the best in the ACC. Preston Stone back at quarterback. They're very solid on the line of scrimmage, both sides of the ball. So yeah, SMU, I think it's going to be a good football team. In fact, I think they're probably going to be a top 25 team. So let's get to the predictions. They'll start with Nevada and Houston Christian. Those should be wins. So I think they start off 2-0, no doubt about it. Actually, let's go back for just a second. Forgot to mention Vegas. The over-under win total, 7.5. So Vegas is not thinking SMU is going to be up there among the top teams in the ACC. With that number just at 7.5. I think that number is a little bit low, but you could see some losses here that could get them down to perhaps 7-5. But yeah, back to the schedule. I think they beat Nevada and Houston Christian. Should be pretty easy wins there. BYU up next on a Friday night, September 6th at home. BYU I don't think is going to be very good this year. I think SMU is clearly a better team. Playing at home on a Friday night, yeah, don't see them losing that game. So a 3-0 start. Before playing TCU, now this is going to be a good one. I think these teams are pretty even. Don't see a lot of separation between the two. Could really see this game going either way. I like SMU at the line of scrimmage. I think they're going to match up with pretty much every team that they play. And the run game going to be very good for them. I think they're able to win this one. It's going to be probably a pretty high-scoring game, an exciting game, but playing at home, I like SMU to start off 4-0. So 4-0 in the non-conference, then they begin ACC play with Florida State on September 28th. Going to be a solid Florida State team. I don't think they're going to be quite as good as they were last season, but still going to be tough. Their defense is going to be really, really good, and I think they're going to cause some problems for this SMU offense. On the flip side, can Florida State, what can they do through the air? The cornerback position is not necessarily a strength for this SMU defense. So you wonder if Florida State can maybe make some plays through the air, although their strength is going to be in the run game. So this is just going to be a great matchup. I do think SMU has a chance, but I think ultimately the defense for Florida State is going to be the difference here. I think the Seminoles win, but a close one. All right, so next we got Louisville on October 5th on the road. That's a tough place to play. Louisville's going to be a solid team. They're going to be pretty good on defense. You look at their offense, it's a very even matchup. I look at SMU as Louisville and Louisville as being really right there. If we were grading these teams or giving them a rating out of 100 or whatever, I think both teams would be right there with that same rating. I think both teams are kind of like a B- team maybe. So I think it's a very even matchup here. Louisville, though, is playing at home. I think that they and their overall depth might be enough to get the win here, but another close one. So yeah, I don't see SMU getting blown out by anyone this season. They lose those two games, then they go on the road to play Stanford. They will have a bye week before this, so that'll help out before traveling out west. Stanford not going to be a great team, but again, you are traveling across the country. Well, I say across the country. SMU is not. We're thinking about the ACC here, and these teams that are having to travel across the country. Well, SMU really, it doesn't matter who they play on the road. They're going to go about the same distance either way, which is just crazy. But anyways, SMU at Stanford, I just think they're a better team. I think they win this game. So then they go from Stanford all the way back to the other side of the country, and they'll play Duke on the road. And that could become an issue. I really think that the travel for this game could cause a problem for them. Duke is going to be okay. They're not going to be as good as they were, but I don't think they're going to completely drop off. Again, this is one they could absolutely lose, but I'm actually going to go with SMU. I say SMU gets the win here. I just think they're overall just a better team, and they're able to survive those 2 road games, go back home for Pittsburgh, a game that they should win. Pitt not going to be very good, so I think SMU rolls there. And then it's back, so they get their other bye week before going back home again. We'll play home again for Boston College. This should be a good game. Boston College not going to be bad. I think at the line of scrimmage, they're going to be a pretty good team, and their offense brings back some pieces, so this should be a pretty good game. But I think SMU has enough to get this win. Again, I think they're going to be a good football team, and these teams in the ACC, these lower tier ACC teams, I just think SMU's better than them. But then they get Virginia on the road. Virginia team program that seems to be trending in the right direction. I think Virginia is going to get a big win this year, and you do have to look at the grind here for SMU. After playing, individual games, yeah, I think they can beat anyone on the schedule. But if you look at their depth and coming from that group of 5 level, as the season wears on, you wonder about them being able to do it every single week. And so I think they slip up somewhere. Again, maybe Duke is that game. That one is definitely a tricky one with the travel. But I'm actually going to go Virginia. Like I said, I think Virginia's going to get a big win this year. And I see this as a game that SMU possibly could lose. And then I think they beat Cal to close things out. I think they're a better team than California. And playing at home, I think they'll bounce back and finish 9-3. But yeah, 10-2 is possible. You look at Florida State and Louisville being the only games where I think they'll be underdogs, and you maybe find a way to win one of those. All of a sudden, SMU, we're talking about them at 11-1. But on the flip side, they could lose these 3 games. They could lose to Duke on the road. They could slip up in another game, or maybe lose to TCU. So I could see them going 7-5. But I think, between 7-5 and 10-2, probably the most likely scenarios. I'm going 9-3. What's your prediction for SMU? Let me know down in the comments below.